Welcome to the Rabbi and the Shrink. I'm Dr. Margarita Gurri, the Shrink, and here is
Rabbi Yonason Goldson.
And he's the rabbi, if you may have guessed. And today we're delighted and honored to have with us Breeda Miller. Hi, Breeda.
Hi there.
Hello, Breeda.
Well,
Hello.
I invited Breeda for two reasons. One is right now, everyone is fed up, overwhelmed, overburdened. They're traumatized either directly or vicariously. And it's got us all just exhausted and with impaired function in many ways. And Breeda, for one thing, when I'm impaired, which is, from time to time, I call Breeda because she's one of my favorite girlfriends, and I'll call her, talk to her, and she always improves my impaired judgment. So she's one of my go-to people, and the rabbi as well. So the other thing is she's an expert in caregiving. So Breeda, what does it have to do, caregiving, self-care? What does that have to do with ethics?
Well, I think it has a tremendous amount to do with ethics. Really, so many people who are in the role of caregiver question whether it is the right thing to do, which is my layman's definition of ethics, the right thing to do. Is it the right thing to do to take time to take care of myself when there's so many other people that need so many things and so much from me? Isn't it selfish of me to take time to take care of myself? And they then get caught in an ethical dilemma of what is the right thing to do.
And there's been a lot of studies that talk about businesses that adopt the idea that working more and longer hours is better for you. But in truth, the research shows that's not true. So if they were going to be wise, Breeda Miller, do we need to tell everyone at home, in the communities, in the schools and in business about self-care? What do they need to know?
Well, my go-to phrase is simply take a break before you break, to be preemptive. If you take care of yourself, you are going to have the mental agility, the physical ability to be present and to be your best self, not what is left of you. So when you take a break before you break, you're positioning yourself to be more effective, to be more successful, and to not lose yourself in the process of caring for others.
And what, so many things in life, in the human condition, there's what appears to be a paradox here, is that we are individuals living as part of a community. We want to be of service to others, and we want to make our purpose to serve others. But at the same time, we have to look after our own needs. And so in Scripture itself, it says, you will guard your soul. That's not merely a spiritual mandate, it's a physical mandate. There's an obligation to eat healthy, to get enough activity to have a healthy lifestyle, to get enough sleep at night. And of course, the one everybody knows, love your neighbor as yourself. Mm-hmm. Well, why is it phrased that way? Because first you have to love yourself. Yes. And you can only love others in proportion to the degree to which you love yourself, which means if I'm not taking care of myself, I'm not showing self-love, and therefore I can't be of use to anybody else.
Absolutely.
Well, when COVID hit, Breeda did something unusual. Please share with us your journey. I mean, I just love what you did. COVID hit, your business got turned upside down, your life got turned upside down. Share, please, your thinking, because I think that if people can grasp that, then they can make it happen for themselves.
Well, one day I just stopped and I thought, I was stressing out about the lack of business and how we couldn't travel and all the things that we could not do. And I thought, what is something I can do? And I asked myself a really important question. What would I do if I knew I couldn't fail? And I stepped back and I thought, what are my dreams? What are things that, if I knew I couldn't fail, what would I do? And I flashed back to my high school self when I won a theater scholarship. And I thought of becoming an actor. And I thought, yeah, it would be good. It would be fun. It would be great. But the price was high. The price was high to pay to become a successful actor. And I really didn't want to pay that price. I wanted to have a life with a relationship and a family and a home. And I wasn't willing to make those sacrifices. So I put that on the back burner. But when I was thinking about this question of what's in my heart and what would I like to do, I realized I want to write a one-woman show, and I want to travel all over the country, all over the world performing it. And not just any kind of bit of entertainment fluff, although it would be fluffy and funny as well. But what could really help people? What could I take the cumulative experience of my life, my education, my experiences, my skills, and funnel this into one project that might really help someone? And so that's what I've done for the last 6 months. And it's been a process. I've been developing it and doing it very methodically. And instead of focusing on the end product, one of the important things I'm doing is I'm focusing on the process and really enjoying the process every day as it unfolds. And it's absolutely amazing.
It's been wonderful watching her too, as she had this idea, and we're in a mastermind with our friend Marilyn Suttle. And the three of us, it just felt like one of those God moments. The clouds opened up and the sun was shining and the angels were dancing on the head of a pin and all of that stuff, right? And it just felt so right, because Breeda helps share her wisdom with everyone. And for many people who don't understand the intricacies of how do you find your way back from being overwhelmed, her simple ideas and her story. So this story hits home. So Rabbi, if you don't mind, I'd like her to tell now about Mrs. Kelly's journey home.
Please.
So the name of the, and it evolved, I thought of lots of different ideas, and I've had a pretty interesting life sometimes. Interesting good and interesting bad, you know, I mean, things that have happened, things that I've overcome is the way that I would look at it. And I really wasn't sure which way this show was going to go. It ended up being Mrs. Kelly's journey home. And each of those words are really intentional. Mrs. Kelly is my mother. And she was a delightful spark plug of a lady, but most people called her Mrs. Kelly, and she preferred to be called Mrs. Kelly. And the word journey to me is just an important concept of process, and that we're all on different journeys. Some are intentional, some are accidental, some are serendipitous. And home is one of the most important concepts for people to know. Home can be a physical place, it can be a mindset, it can be something that we all want, we all aspire to it. So the title is Mrs. Kelly's Journey Home, and it is a story of my family's emigration from Ireland to America, about them becoming Americans and all the shenanigans, literally, that ensued. It is the story of my journey to becoming a mother through infertility and then international adoption. And then, most importantly, my journey as my mother's caregiver, as she declined in her old age into dementia, and then through hospice and end of life care. But the wonderful thing is the up note that the show ends on is that her ultimate journey home to heaven, and how she shares her. I describe her as an ordinary woman who had an extraordinary outlook on life, that she had great faith in God and in herself. And that pretty much is where I start off the show, and we just let it rip for 90 minutes. And I think, my hope is the stories that I tell they're funny, they're engaging, they might make your eyes leak a little bit, you know, but that they are memorable. And that, as we all know from the parables, that's the most effective way to teach, that people will remember. You know, bullet points are great, statistics are wonderful, but if they jumble together or people don't remember them, what good does that do? But a good story that sticks in people's hearts and in their minds can change their behavior and can change their life.
And the world premiere is going to start in Michigan, because we're in Michigan.
Yes.
Breeda and I both. And it's going to be sometime probably late October. And
Yes.
stay tuned. I put the link in the chat. Mrs. Kelly's Journey Home with no apostrophe.com. You can also just go to breedamiller.com. And Breeda is Breeda Miller. So that's wonderful. Can I
I'm
share
so
that?
glad you
Take it home.
I'm so glad you shared that with us, Breeda.
Thank you. So
and
that is it's kind of my closer. It is the story of how I eased my mom's anxiety at the end of her life. And basically, I created a ticket to heaven for her.
Sorry, Rabbi, in my excitement, I stepped on your words. Go for it. What were you
Quite
saying,
all right.
sir? I know you're used to it.
Yes. There are a couple of points that you made that I think are really worth drawing out. And you certainly don't have to sell us here on the Power of Story. Now that's our stock and trade, and I know we've probably all been present for programs where there's a tremendous amount of data, and perhaps slide after slide after slide of bullet points and information. It's all valuable. And then when it's all over, can you remember one single thing that was said? No, it's just gone. The stories create the context that make the information relevant. And we all have stories. There's a feeling that we have to live lives of great drama, great adventure, great excitement. The brilliance of some storytellers who can take a seemingly innocuous event and turn it into something that has drama and tension and meaning. It's something that we should all try to learn from, because we can all find those stories within ourselves. The other thing you mentioned, you talked about your mother's faith. And I would suggest that this generation, we're having a crisis in faith. And not only faith in God, we're having a crisis in faith in one another, and a crisis of faith in ourselves, and a crisis of faith in the future and the hope that the future holds. Do you have an approach for us to strengthen our faith that will help us get through these difficult times?
Don't want to be presumptuous, but I do think that is the message in this play, and this idea of taking ordinary moments, but looking at them through an extraordinary lens. There's a couple of really, my favorite stories are in this. And one is about the time that I made an apple pie with my mother. And she was really failing, and I was exhausted and overwhelmed and just so busy and caught up with all the things that I needed to do and keeping on schedule. And she wanted to make an apple pie. And I am not gifted with pie. I'm pie impaired, and pie is not my best thing. And she wanted to do it, and I was resisting and didn't do it. And ultimately I did. And it was with an external person who said, Breeda, you got to make the damn pie. But anyway, I ultimately made the pie with her. And at the end, she just sat there and she said, this is the best pie I ever made. And I felt so ashamed, because I had let all the external things, the schedules and all the things that I thought were so important to do, get in the way and cloud my vision. And when I got some clarity and said, I needed to listen to what she needed. I needed to listen to what was really important. And it wasn't about the pie. It was about making the pie. And ultimately, for me, it was about not having regrets. So when I think about caregiving and self-care, if you can have the presence of mind to think outside yourself and to put yourself in someone else's position and try to understand, what do they really need? What does this situation really need? And get out of my own head about all the stuff that I think they need and that I think is important. It just can make all the difference in the world. It's about dignity of others. It's about respecting. And at the end of the day, not having regrets, to say, you know what, I'm proud of myself. I'm happy that I made those choices. And right now, it's very hard to see through the fog of all the stuff that is coming at us 24/7. And I think if we're able to have that presence of mind to take care of ourselves so that we can try to get some clarity and make those decisions that that are about what is really important. And honor the ordinary, and think it doesn't have to be climbing a mountain, but maybe doing something special today for yourself, and then being able to do something special for others. That's how we get to quality of life. Does that answer what you were thinking?
Yeah, I think so. I particularly like the point that you make about, it's not about the outcome. And it's become such a cliche, it's the journey, it's not the destination, it's the process, it's not the outcome. But of course, cliches become cliches because they're true. And our society has become so outcome focused. And the problem with that is that until you reach the outcome, you don't feel you've accomplished anything. And if you fall short of the outcome, then you feel like you've wasted your time. When so much of it is the effort and the intent, and recognizing that we really don't control the outcomes. There are so many factors involved, and that all we can do is the best we can do. And if it's the best we can do, then that's enough. And
the best we can do on any given day, right?
Yeah.
That's true. And each day is different. One thing I've learned from Breeda held through Big Hearted Stories for seniors. She held this wonderful series of workshops on storytelling. And one of the things I learned from Breeda and Brian Cox was, for me, my interpretation is that stories are life and love. As a psychologist, I've always known, but I didn't think of it in these terms, that how we tell the story of anything, past, present, future, changes the past, present, and future. Our perspective of it, it changes the possibilities. So being kind about it, or being honest about it, being generous. I think that I see many people, part of their self-care is to deny that something happened, or to take the blame 100% as theirs, neither of which is self-care. So if there's a business failing, or a failing in a marriage, or a failing raising a kid, or a failing in how we drive, or whatever, I think part of self-care is being kind with the truth in a way that we can accept what really happened, and then we can move forward. Breeda put together 2 books that I think are brilliant. Take a Break Before You Break. And you want to talk a little bit about that briefly, Breeda?
Yeah, it is a book. Half of it is about mindset, because so many times we have to give ourselves permission to take a break, because for many reasons we might think that it's selfish, or that it is not worthy, or that you're not a good person if you are not constantly, that if you take time to care for yourself. So the first half is mindset and helping you get to that point. And then the second half are just practical ideas, not your typical, get a massage or go on vacation or something like that, but specific ideas that you can do, that will allow you to take that break, from a micro break, 5 minutes going outside and some good breathing and going for a brisk walk, to scheduling time that you can look forward to each week.
I like a lot of these. I mean, annoying noise, vacation, home spa, find your people. I mean, it's so cute anyway. And I find that it's very helpful and gives me fresh ideas. The other one, Breeda, is this one, the Caregiver book.
The Caregiver Coffee Break. Yeah, I wrote that as the book I wished I'd had when I was my mom's caregiver. I had a pile of books. I call them my pile of good intentions, but I was so exhausted that when I sat down to read, I would get through 3 pages and I was out. So I needed something that was short, quick, accessible, but that would give me something to think about. So the book has been called Distilled Wisdom, which I thought was great. I didn't say it, someone else did. But at the bottom of many of the pages, there are links so that if you like this germ of an idea, if you like this kind of information, here's the link to go to get lots and lots more information and more details. So it is not a comprehensive book, but I think it touches on so many things. It's chatty, it's warm. I think it's kind of funny. And people have told me that it really has helped them when they've been in that spot of caring for parents and they just don't know what to do.
What has doing all of this pivot that you did and the one woman show and the books and all that, what has it done for your understanding of self-care for you and others?
It's really helped me an awful lot because if I don't want to be a hypocrite, I need to practice what I preach. And so for example, one of the challenges I'm going through right now is this show is 90 minutes. It is 34 pages of script that is just me. And the memorization of this is challenging. I think it's challenging for anybody, but for a 60-year-old brain, it's a little bit tougher. So what I do is I will study and read a bit, and then I know when I'm just getting overloaded and I think I need to lay down, and I will take a 20-minute nap. And if I actually go asleep, that's great. But I just give my mind a rest and I give myself permission to do that. And I do it with intention. So I don't feel guilty. I don't feel like, oh, I have so much to do. I don't have time to take a nap. No, I have so much to do. I really need to take a nap. I think of my phone. I charge my phone every night and I don't begrudge it. And I don't think, you lazy phone, why do you need to be charged every single night? I realized that the phone needs self-care. That's why they call it an iPhone. But when you think about how powerful this little computer is and how much we depend on it, and we don't think less of it when it gets to that red bar. I mean, I feel like we need to have that red bar visible so that somebody could come up and say, you're in the red zone. I really think you need to recharge. But we need to recognize it within ourselves and give ourselves permission to take a break before we break.
One of my favorite quotes is from J.P. Morgan, who said, I can do a year's work in 9 months, but not in 12 months.
There you go.
And it's a very Jewish idea that while we believe in a tremendous work ethic, we believe in pushing ourselves as much as possible to the limit of our capacity, but not beyond that. And because we're human beings, we do have limits. And that if I use my time wisely and then give myself permission to have downtime, whether it's sleep, recreation, some form of entertainment, that is part of the work. It's not that I'm taking a break from the work, it's that it becomes part of the job, part of the work.
I like that.
One of my guilty pleasures is spy novels. And we're reading the Jason Bourne books. There was one phrase that just stuck in my mind. He said, sleep is a weapon. And here's this guy who's doing all this crazy stuff and everybody's trying to kill him and he's trying to kill them and the fate of the world's hanging in the balance. And I have to take a nap.
I have never understood folks who've said that they operate on, I have so much to do. I only operate on 4 hours of sleep a night. I don't know how your brain, and I don't think your body was built that way.
But it takes twice as long.
Not for me.
Well, many people think of those things that help maintain as a waste of time and not efficient. And they don't understand that self-care is, and the psychologists even say, that self-care is a moral and ethical imperative for psychologists. Because if we are not on even keel, how can we possibly have anything useful to offer in terms of observations or wisdom in any way? And I think that's true for any group. I mean, I know that in long plane rides, they have all sorts of studies of pilots taking naps in the cockpit and what's the optimal number of minutes. And I don't know the new research, but is it 10, 15, 20, 25, 30, who knows? But the issue is we're trying to understand always what's the best way to be most effective and efficient. And being balanced is a bad word these days, the word balance. So I think I
That's a
might have to say a
problem.
Hail Mary now after that. Balance, balance, balance.
Daniel Goleman talks about the value of meditation.
Yes.
And when and he says this, he says, so I'm going to sit for 10, 15, 20 minutes and make my mind a blank. What could be a bigger waste of time than that? And what we're really doing is we are training our brains to be disciplined, to not let stray thoughts distract us.
Mhm.
And there's actually, you don't think of, having maintenance done on your car as a waste of time because the car is going to break down if I don't do that. We shouldn't think of sleep as a waste of time because it's rejuvenating. There's so many ways that we serve ourselves so that we can then serve the world.
Exactly. Another interesting thing I think about this when it comes to caregiving is that I know when I was pushing myself and I was exhausted and frustrated, that I was cranky and I was not a pleasant person. And if my mom felt that she didn't want to be a burden to me, here I am being cranky or short-tempered or whatever. How do I think that made her feel? It made her feel like she was a burden to me because she saw what it was doing to me. So if a person is feeling guilty or feeling they just can't justify taking a nap or taking a rest or taking a break and going out for 2 hours or going to a movie or something that they would like to do, they really have to stop and turn it around to think about the quality of experience that they are to the person that they are caring for. And if they want to be their best self, if they want to be pleasant, if they want to be open, have an agile mind so that they can be responsive. One of the things I often say when you're caring for a person with dementia, it's like a day at the Improv without the applause.
It is.
Because you have to just, who are you today? Where are we today? What year is it today? And you go with the flow, you go where they're at. But if you are not your best self, if you're just stressed out and exhausted, you're going to get annoyed and you're going to behave and respond differently and not in the most positive way. And it's not going to end well. So if you can't do it for yourself, if you think, I just don't think I can do that, then do it for the other person. Do it so you will be your best self for them.
Yeah, this applies to our spouses, our children, our parents. Really, all our relationships. And if I'm in a job that's toxic, and I hold it together through the job, and I get off, and now the first person I see, there's all that pent up tension and anger and frustration, and I just explode. So why am I letting my job destroy my relationships? Sometimes I may need to look for a new job. Until I can find a new job, I need to find some way of decompressing before I get into the situation where I'm going to take it out of the people that I love the most.
Absolutely.
And it's not so easy to find your way to self-care. So Breeda Miller, let's say someone is burnt out, exhausted, resentful, whatever, overwhelmed. Where do they start, please?
Where do they start? I guess they stop and I'd say make a list. Make a list that if you were given the gift of, let's not get greedy, let's not say a whole day, but let's say you were given the gift of 4 hours and you could just do whatever you wanted to do. What would that be? And then make a list so that when you have that opportunity to do something, you're not struggling saying, but I don't know what to do. And so maybe it's go to the library. Maybe it is to go for a walk. Maybe it's to take a drive to a body of water and listen to the waves or just look at water, which is to me so soothing. Maybe it is to make a phone call to a friend that you haven't talked to in a long time and have a really nice chin wag, a good chat, or whatever it is, but something that is not involving caring for another person or doing anything for someone else, something that is just for you. And it's different for everyone. Some people are athletic and going for a run is their idea of fun. For me, not so much. But there are things I do enjoy going for a really nice walk. So whatever it is, but plan ahead. Think about those things that you like to do. And then think about, okay, I'd like to do this. How could you possibly do it? Do you need to find someone who could provide respite care for the person you're caring for, or the situation that you're in, to allow you the freedom to do this? It doesn't necessarily have to cost money. As I say, it could be a walk somewhere really nice, or it could be going to see a movie, or having a luxurious experience like a massage or something like that. It doesn't matter what it is, and it is different to each individual. You know, it might be going to a religious service on your own and just being able to focus on that moment of prayer or of meditation, and not thinking about, are my kids making a noise? Is somebody else going to be able to, just go by yourself? Maybe that's what your self-care is. It is not for anyone to judge or to say what works for them. So identify what that might be, figure out when you could do it, and what resources do you need in order to make that happen. And then start the ball rolling that way. Well, I need to call so-and-so to come over on this Saturday from noon to 4. And from noon to 4, that's the time I'm going to do the thing that I need to do. The great thing about that too is that, let's say it's a Wednesday afternoon and you're stressed out, you're exhausted, that things are just coming at you, but you know that on Saturday you have this plan, and on Saturday you have this to look forward to. That in itself, that little light that you can go toward, can be so comforting and so helpful, because it's you have something to look forward to, and I think that's a very mentally healthy thing to do.
I think that's great advice.
We all need to
Wow.
have both short-term goals and long-term goals.
Absolutely.
And the short-term goal can be not how I'm changing the world, but just how I am retaining my own peace of mind, or recovering my own peace of mind.
Mm-hmm.
I knew a minister's wife who had 3 autistic children, and she made a list of things that were 2 minutes long, 5 minutes long, 10, so that if she just had a short period of time that she could, scoop out for herself, that she knew she didn't have to waste time thinking about the things she'd love. So maybe it's, watching a spy show for 10 minutes, or reading whatever. And I think it's important to be ready for less than optimal free time, so that you could get started with this habit of taking care of yourself.
Absolutely.
That's a really astute idea. And it's, on the surface, it sounds silly, but the truth is,
She
it's
was
kind of like
brilliant.
when you have questions, right? We all have questions, and then you find yourself having a conversation with somebody who can answer your questions, and you can't remember any of your questions. Right? I have things I want to do, and then when I have time to do them, I can't remember what they are.
Yeah.
Our minds need order, and we need to create that order artificially.
So another anchor, I would suggest that everyone go to Breeda Miller's website, breedamiller.com, or Mrs. Kelly, and it's Kellys, Mrs. Kelly's journeyhome.com. And there's the premiere coming up, world premiere in October. The cool thing about her show, and Breeda, I love that you did this, it's also a great thing if you want to raise money for a good cause. People are asking her to come and use this as a fundraiser. It warms hearts and wallets. It opens up healing. People laugh, they cry. When I watched it, the immigrant experience was there for me and gave me warm feelings about that, but also just how loving everyone in the audience was, because it's almost like they were kind of imbued with the love that Breeda was sharing. So I think if you don't know where to start, go to Mrs. Kelly's Journey Home is what I would suggest. So Rabbi, is it time for your word of the day?
Well, let's make it time.
All right.
The word for the day is symbiosis. Now, symbiosis means that you have two things that are dependent upon one another. We're all familiar with the yin and the yang symbol, and it represents the aspects of the world, the feminine and the masculine, the light and the dark, the dominant and the passive. And in nature, right? And bees and flowers, that type of interrelationship, each one needs the other. Now, we have terms in human psychology. There's a term codependency, which you'll correct me if I'm wrong, doctor, but I believe that's not something that we look at favorably. It's when I can't function without you. And sometimes I have to function alone. But the other angle on that is interdependency, is that we need each other, right? In a good union, husband and wife, parents and children, right? We depend on each other. Children's. It's again, it goes back to that paradox of human existence, that we're not meant to live alone, right? One of the first things we learn in the Bible, right? It's not good that human beings should be alone. We need friends, we need family, we need partners, we need companionship, we need community. And so again, we're striking this balance between my identity as an independent, autonomous individual and my identity as part of something greater than myself. And as with anything in ethics, there's no app for this. It is a continuous work in progress. Sometimes we need a little bit more time for ourselves. Sometimes we need a little more time devoted to the community around us. And recognizing that it is a continuous work in progress is part of how we get it right more of the time. Not expecting it to be easy, not expecting it to be simple, but recognizing that the benefits that come to us by managing this tension end up serving us most.
Great choice. The whole thing about self-care. So I'm going to leave us with asking Breeda for your last words, and then I'll pipe in with some final words. Breeda, final words of wisdom, ma'am?
You owe it to yourself. You owe it to the people that you care for to take a break before you break, to care for yourself so that you can be your best self is probably one of the most loving things that you can do.
Thank you. I so agree.
Thank
So
you,
as a
Breeda.
psychologist, I've been working with people who are so wounded. They have, Breeda introduced me to the term compassion fatigue. People are just exhausted and angry and resentful. And so they sabotage a lot of this self-care for themselves and for others. I mean, what you're sitting around when you have so much to do, that kind of stuff. There's enough to spread around these barriers, right? So one day I'm thinking, how do I lovingly talk to individuals and groups about this? And I happened to be watching Spaceballs, one of my favorite movies. It's a spoof on Star Wars. And it's, they have it in there, may the Schwartz be with you. Very funny. So I thought, I had been doing a bunch of self-care research, and I'm thinking, what is a prescription that I would give? What are if you had to do 6 or 7 steps, what would they be to help you along your path to self-care? So I came up with Schmet. And today I added another T for Breeda. So Schmet is, you need the right amount of sleep under the right conditions, not with a TV screen in front of your face. You need to be comfortable in a room that's, for the most part, for sleep. I mean, and other lovely things. I mean, you don't want to be just always on the couch. Compassion. Many people have compassion for others, but not for themselves. And I'm not asking for empathy, which is a deeper dive. I'm thinking if we have compassion for ourselves and others, that's a start in terms of self-care. Humor. And the rabbi and I have talked about humor a lot. The kind that is kind. Not the kind, any humor where you have to look both ways before you tell it, doesn't count here. Exercise, and again, it could be a walk, it could be vacuuming while you dance, it doesn't matter what it is, you don't have to go to the gym. You don't have to do anything you hate, just moving around. Meaning, I think anyone who has a sense of purpose can get through just about anything. and can maybe allow themselves some self-care. So whether it's you touch someone in the heart or in the mind or in the soul, I think it's important to have meaning. And then touch. So there's the physical kind of touch, and then again, touching someone in the heart and the soul. And then I'm going to add another T to the Schmet, and that is take a break before you break. That's all I have to say. I wish everyone a wonderful week. We will see you next Tuesday at 12:30. And if you guys want to say a last goodbye.
Take care of yourself, and thank you so much for this wonderful break today.
Thank you for being with us, Rabbi.
Thank you, Breeda. Thank you, Doctor.
All right. Bye, all.